Welcome back, Fiber friends. Today's episode, we are just going to be talking about fiber festivals, specifically New York Sheep and Wool, but this advice is going to be applicable to whatever fiber festival you have access to, right? There are fiber festivals in the Midwest, on the West Coast, in the South. There are plenty of options. I might put like a few links to the ones that I'm familiar with down below, but a lot of them I have not gotten a chance to attend. So full disclosure, every year I try to attend Maryland Sheep and Wool and New York Sheep and Wool. These are my two favorite sheep and wool related events. Unfortunately, because of my job, I often don't get to do the events that are surrounding these events, right? So if you are someone who is traveling the distance, right, you're making a bit of a trip out to do one of these festivals, do know that there are a lot of classes and smaller yarn festivals, meetups at local shops, things like that that are going on Thursday and Friday and sometimes even Monday of that weekend. So do keep that in mind. Today, though, we are going to be talking about preparing for the Fiber Festival when you're at the actual Fiber Festival and after the fact. So for me personally, and I talked about this, I think 2 episodes ago on our podcast, I do like to do some kinds of preparation before I actually go to New York Sheep and Wool and Maryland Sheep and Wool. I do use this as an opportunity to toss my stash, which doesn't mean we're throwing it away. It simply means that we are looking through it and oftentimes organizing our stash, just to kind of get an idea of what we have. You know, some people keep really meticulous lists and documents of all the things that they have, and to those people, like, kudos to them. I'm the kind of person that if it's out of sight, it's out of mind. And if those records are kept on like a computer or something, or really not just like sitting right in front of me in my studio, I won't keep up with something like that. And that's why a lot of the stuff that I have, I do keep in clear boxes so that I can see a lot of what I have. Another aspect of assessing your stash is figuring out what you actually want to put your New York Sheep and Wool budget to. A lot of people have a budget for New York Sheep and Wool. I do think it's a good idea to have a budget, because those skeins of yarn and those bats and those braids, they add up quick. I know better than anybody else, and so I like to have a game plan as to what I'm going to prioritize, and then if I have money left over for other things, you know, I might spend it on those other things. This year, though, I definitely went in with a very specific intent, and I think I did a really good job of almost entirely only sticking to things that I wanted to get at New York Sheep and Wool. And one of the ways that you can really plan for New York Sheep and Wool before you show up is you can always look up the year's previous map or the current map or the like coming year's map if it's already available online, and you can sort of scope out where you're going to want to go first and how you're going to want to trek around the area. Now, do keep in mind that the Dutchess County Fairgrounds, as well as the fairgrounds for the Maryland Sheep and Wool, I forget exactly which fairgrounds those are, but both of them are fairly hilly, and I do think that's worth keeping in mind. Especially if you're going on Saturday, and if you're not showing up super duper early, expect to need to move at a slower pace just because of how crowded it can be. I do recommend, if you're going on Saturday, to show up pretty early. And if you are going to go to the flea sale, try to show up as early as possible. I showed up 20 minutes later than I would have liked for the flea sale, which was still like pretty early, like as far as people showing up to the New York Sheep and Wool Festival. And I still did not get my pick of the fleeces. I have like inklings that there might have been a Wensleydale fleece available at this year's flea sale, but I think somebody else picked it up. I think I missed it. I still ended up getting a Wensleydale fleece, but we're going to talk about that later. So it's good to know, you know, if you want to hit certain places too that have like limited amounts of things, if you are like a diehard Miss Babs fan or something like that, I do recommend scoping out the vendors in advance, especially if this is your first time going, or if it's like one of the only times you plan on going. Scope out the vendors in advance. I didn't this year, no regrets about that, because I go every single year, so I kind of like the surprise. But if you are only going once, or if you feel a bit competitive or worried that they're going to sell out of the exact thing that you want, I do recommend scoping out those vendors in advance, and you can find out exactly which barn that it's in. The way that the festival is organized is that a lot of the vendors are in barns, although keep in mind there are some outside in between the barns, sort of along these outer areas. And then in these buildings over here, there's also, this is where the flea sale is, and sort of these like I call it the lower four. I don't really know what the conventional way that people refer to it as, but it's essentially A, B, C, and D, and that's where some of the classes are taught. I do think that there's like some demonstrations that go on over there, and then there are more vendors. That is definitely one of the vendor spaces that I think people are more competitive for. And then maybe I'm wrong about that. What do I know? I'm not a vendor. And then in addition to that, that's usually where the flea sale is and the book sale. If you're there for books, which this year I did pick up a book, I'll show you guys that later. Again, later we'll talk about the fun things that I brought home. But yeah, I really enjoy going to Rhinebeck every year. It's always a really good time. I recommend bringing snacks. Honestly, if you've ever been to like any other kind of festival, like a music festival, treat it like a music festival. Like bring water, bring snacks, like have some aspirin on you just in case, like the things that will guarantee you having a good time at any other major event where it might be sunny, it might be rainy, you know, you don't really know what you're getting into. Like pack appropriately, look in advance on the weather. If there's any inkling of rain, bring some kind of rain stuff. Even if you're getting there really early and you get a primo parking spot, just keep the stuff in your car, and then you're able to go back if you really think that there is a threat of rain and you need to get like a full umbrella or something along those lines. Keep in mind, this is a rain or shine festival. Some years it is really, really muddy. Whenever there is a inkling of rain, like there was last year, I wear my rain boots. I think it's worth it. Honestly, I think fashion statement for one, and then secondly, it's just good. It guarantees you have a good time, right? Because we always hear about some of these festivals where they're really rainy and some people have a really miserable time, but at the end of the day, a lot of these rain or shine festivals, like if you prepare a little bit, it can be a really, really good time. Heavy on the snacks, because if you do want to get food I'd say between noon and 2:30, you're going to be fighting for your life. The lines are going to be insanely long. That's when everybody is hungry. That's when a lot of people show up to the fairgrounds, like people who are not yarn people, who are kind of coming because maybe they're just curious and they heard about the Sheep and Wool Festival. I feel like a lot of those folks show up from like 12 to 3. Great crowd, like love to see them. They're spending their money to support something that I really love and support, but it does kind of flood the fairgrounds in general. That's when things can get a little bit hairy, so keep that in mind. I also like to bring headphones just in case. I did not need them this year, but definitely recommend. And if you are trying to make yourself fairly identifiable, like wear something really distinctive, because everybody is going to be wearing their Rhinebeck sweater. So if you're like, yeah, I'm going to be the person in like this sweater pattern, you and everybody else, baby. And that's like the wonderful part. I saw a bunch of people wearing the wave sweater, I think it's called, who had like all collected in like a big group for a photo, and it was really, I loved those sweaters. There were some really retro color schemes that a lot of them went with, which I think for that design just really like, oh, chef's kiss. Like, love to see it. Yeah, I don't know, have fun, enjoy Rhinebeck, see the animals. I am going to show you guys some of the animal footage that I got, because that's one of my favorite parts of Rhinebeck. I love getting to meet the animals. I love getting to see the breeds one-on-one. It was just, I don't know, that's the cool thing about Rhinebeck. There's a lot to discover. I did miss the parade of alpacas, llamas. It might just be the parade of breeds in general. They might just parade a lot of the animals, because I was caught up at the auction. I didn't end up getting anything at the auction because everything that I was interested in was just like a little bit more expensive than frankly I was willing to take the gamble on, because a lot of it was fiber that was kind of in like big mesh containers, and like you could surmise what some of it was and like what some of the labels were, but I wasn't going to go digging through it because, like, you know, you gotta be gentle. It's fiber. You don't want to felt anything. So I didn't get anything at the auction again this year. There was definitely a different crop at the auction too. There wasn't anything weaving related that really called to me. And I wasn't really wanting to drop that amount of money, especially because I ended up finding a Wensleydale fleece that I ended up buying. So I'm glad that I saved my monies and I didn't do that. But I'm sure you guys are waiting to see what I actually got at Rhinebeck, so let's talk about it. So one of the things that I was planning on getting, and I kind of want to start with, is the natural dyes. So first things first, I did go back to TF Woodcraft. They were one of the first stalls that I decided I was actually going to go into. I did start with the animals and the auction and the flea sale. I didn't rush to the other like barns and stalls to see what everybody had. I did pick up the 4-ounce potassium alum sulfate because I needed a bump of it. $4 is not that much, and I like supporting this business. I know I can buy like larger amounts of it elsewhere, but I just haven't looked into it yet, and it was there. So I picked up that. I did get madder. I got 2 ounces of madder. I can't remember the colors for each of these. I mean, I got this big thing of Osage orange, and this is like a really beautiful golden yellow, and I was looking for a yellow, and she had a few different yellows available, but I liked this one the most. I really enjoyed it, and I really look forward to using this. And it was a very, I don't know, it seemed like a large container for $10, so I was pretty happy. I was pretty happy. Again, I really like this vendor because she steered me the right way when I first stumbled upon her stand last year. She kind of got me interested in like the easiest dyes that were in colors that I really liked. Again, I got logwood and lac from her, and I loved both of those. I still have more of them left over, so I didn't need more of that. But the madder and the Kutch, I think one of them is like a red and one of them is a pink. One of them might be an orange. I might be wrong about that. I'm gonna have to... I did take their info sheet with me. I can't remember where it ended up, but I did take the info sheet with me, so I have all the info on which colors are which. And then the actual potassium alum is just a mordant, so it doesn't have a specific color. That is not the only natural dye that I picked up either. So if you know me, you know I love forage dyes. Jackie Ottawin, I'm gonna put her name on the screen. I really love her natural dyeing. She does teach classes. I often don't have the opportunity to take her classes, but she's located in Connecticut, so if you are too, you can probably find a way to take her classes. From her, I picked up the Brazilwood Sapinwood extract. This really appealed to me. If I'm remembering correctly, this was like a really nice pinky orangey hue, depending on like how you actually end up mordanting it. I think it was more of a pink because I was also looking at the madder root. Okay, so the madder must be the orangey one because this is the braid that I ended up picking up from Forage Dyes this time. So they had some different bases available this time, which was really cool. The base that I went with was the 50% merino, 25% linen, 25% tussa silk. I've seen these braids like passed around, and I've enjoyed working with some of them and like the flax mix. I really want to give this another try with like a much lower twist than what I spun the Princess Bubblegum flax silk blend with. So this is another opportunity, and I just really loved the color, the orange, and the way it kind of took to the flax and almost has like a copper feel to it. I just thought this was really gorgeous, and I look forward to spinning this. One thing that I did forget to get at Rhinebeck this year is I did not get Unicorn Power Scour, which isn't good because I am running out. I really need more. I'm going to need to place an order elsewhere for some Unicorn Power Scour because that is an absolute need, and I don't know how I forgot to pick it up. I think because I was blindsided by the soak. So I will say I swung by the soak stand. I knew I wanted to get a full-size bottle of something, and I had kind of narrowed it down between this and Celebration, but I did end up going with the Fig Scent. I just really like the Fig Scent. I think it's kind of natural and earthy, but still like fruity enough to be interesting and clean feeling. And yeah, this is the little card it comes with all the scents. I really like the Pineapple Grove scent as well. And I'm not as much of a fan of yuzu as I thought I was going to be, and then the wild mint is also more interesting than I thought it was going to be. And again, that's one of those, like, the wild mint is very clean, but in a way that I can tolerate, because clean scents can be a little bit much for me if they're too powdery. But I really like the wild mint. I think it's nice. So I did pick up a bottle of soak this year. Moving back to the fiber, because I know that's why you guys are here. If you have been with us for a long time, you know exactly where this is from. It is from Four Hearts, mainly fiber. I was eyeing this when I picked up, okay, so at New Jersey Sheep and Wool, I picked up this UV reactive fiber in this like really fun yellow, green, and then pink color, right? This is specifically its Firestar top, so this is meant to be blended into like other things, and I have plans for this, but I wanted more. I needed more neon fiber. I had seen these last time, these like bouquets of all three of these UV reactive fibers, and I really want to give them a try and use them in some kind of piece. I don't know, the like retro neon colors have really been calling to me. They are a wool that I'm not familiar with in the slightest, so I am going to insert how it's actually spelled over here. It's Shiniko wool. 4 colored tops, 1 ounce each, 4 ounces total. Super hype about this. I think there are some funky, cool art yarns that are maybe gonna come out of this one, so I'm very excited. I knew I wanted to swing by them if I saw them at New York Sheep and Wool, and they were there, so of course I had to stop by. And then the last thing that I got at New York Sheep and Wool, besides the fleeces that I got, which I'm gonna show you guys a little bit later on, is this, I guess it's top technically. It's a wool rayon blend, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember exactly where I picked it up. Pucker Brush Farm. Pucker Brush Farm is where I picked it up. It was very affordable. Yeah, it's a wool rayon blend. I just really liked the colors. I'm gonna undo this and show you guys. First, I don't know, okay, this is gonna be like such a niche thing, but there is this one album called Aquarium City. I think technically it's from the like city pop genre, but if it's not from that exact genre, it definitely has that feel to it. And first things first, when I saw these just, I don't know, they make me think Aquarium City, don't tap on the glass. I feel like no one's gonna get that reference. This is such a like weird niche thing, but I've been wanting to do some kind of like tapestry piece, so something hung up, so I didn't really care as much about what material it was. And it's great that it was an affordable material because it's probably just gonna go on my wall anyway. I also got this braid from them. This one is really pretty. I think I want to turn this into like a boucle yarn. I don't know, my heart is saying boucle or something with a lot of wiggle to it and a lot of like twists and turns, because I want this rayon to really like, I think the shine and the reflection that it's gonna kind of give off to certain parts of, a boucle or like a double plied, like super boucle is really calling to me with this one. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with it, but that feels right. That feels right. I feel like this might end up being a boucle. So I did pick this up too as well. And again, this was $12.15. For $12, for a wool rayon blend with this like cool fall colorway that I know, that is also kind of a winter colorway that I know I'm going to want to spin at some point, just makes me super happy. It's not too neutral. There's like just enough color to keep it interesting. And that's why I brought it. Alrighty, so it's a few weeks later, fiber friends, and I have spun through a lot of things that I purchased at Rhinebeck already, and as promised, I am trying to scour and morden as much fiber as possible. So that is something that I do try to do right after all the fiber festivals are finished. I really try to take stock of what I have, make some plans as to what I want to spin next, and then make some plans as to how I'm going to tackle any fleeces or any fiber that really needs cleaning or dyeing in my stash. So in this case, I have a whole mohair fleece and a whole Wensleydale lamb fleece that I got at Rhinebeck. I'm going to insert a little bit of footage of both of them that I took, or at least a little bit of footage of the Wensleydale fleece, because if you can believe it, that is already completely scoured. I'm doing the last scouring batch right now as we speak, so I'm gonna have to go check on that soon. But I am mordanting a little bit of the mohair fiber that I wash. I do have 4 pounds of mohair, so there's gonna be a lot of scouring and washing. So if you guys do want to see like how I wash the mohair, my process on washing the mohair. I do plan on sharing that here, so don't forget to hit that follow button. And I hope you guys appreciated this little update. I do promise there is more to come. I have some other footage that I want to edit for you guys that's already taken. And so hopefully we'll see more of each other soon.